I have anything I want to look at? Screw it, let's do
Personally
this.
appointed.
So, Doomcock, who we were talking about earlier, does all this, like, anti-SJW reactionary content. He also says that he has sources inside, like, CBS and Disney. He doesn't. He's lying. We know this because people have literally trolled him on 4chan. He gets all his, like, information from 4chan leaks. So, of course, all of it's untrue. It's almost always untrue. The only times he's ever been right are times that, like, big, like, movie premises have leaked and everyone had access. So, like, Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker, he had access to because everyone had access to the plot of that. That leaked pretty early on. Excuse me. And stuff like that. He's been trolled before, too. People on 4chan making made-up posts and seeing if they can bait him into making a video about it, and of course he does. And when he does make these that are demonstrably false because people, like, are trolling him, and they even have a thing where, like, the first letter or the last letter in the post will spell out something like troll or fake or whatever, he still doesn't realize it. He goes with the story, and in those stories he says, my source backs this up. Again, demonstrating that his source is his own ass. He doesn't have any sources. It's just a thing he says to try and get the people who click on his videos to believe that what he says carries weight when it doesn't. He literally takes things that people shitpost on 4chan about and passes them off like they're legitimate leaks from inside studios. It's so stupid.
Greetings, my friends. I want to thank you all for subscribing to this channel. If you are a subscriber, please check to make sure that you are still subscribed because YouTube unsubscribes people every day. And if you have not subscribed, please consider supporting this channel. We could use your help in our war to save pop culture.
Oh god. Who wants to look at his Patreon? How much money does this dude's Patreon have? What do you think? It's gonna be sickening.
Greetings, future subject.
Of capitalism.
629 patrons. Who knows at what levels? It doesn't look like he actually has that public. Yikerinos. Tucker White 24 with a bit. You should post a rumor on 4chan to F with him. Honestly, that'd be pretty funny. That would be pretty funny. Didn't we already check? Probably. I forgot what it was, though, so.
Thank you, and enjoy the video. Picard is dead, Star Trek is in flames, and Kurtzman is finished.
The funny thing is, I don't, like, he says this stuff. Meanwhile, you got people like me. I enjoy Lower Decks so far. I like Discovery Season 2. I like a lot of the short treks. I keep my CBS Access account active all year just for the Star Wars content, and I also get the Twilight Zone, which I like quite a bit. The first season of Twilight Zone wasn't very good. Second season's good. If you like the Twilight Zone, go check out Season 2 of the Twilight Zone reboot. It's on CBS All Access. But, like, the point is that even when there aren't active Star Trek or Twilight Zone shows going, I've kept that as a reoccurring thing, as a reoccurring payment every month. So how many people like me are out there who, even though, like, I think there are a lot of things that could change and be bettered about Star Trek, how many people like me are still continuing their subscriptions? I imagine they wouldn't be making all these Star Trek spin-off shows if they weren't making a lot of money. They're making money on this. It wouldn't make any sense for them to continue to do so if it wasn't the case.
These are the latest rumors, from multiple sources too numerous to mention. My friends, I don't think there has ever been a time when Star Trek has been so low. Even after...
Do you not remember? Well, of course, neither of us is going to remember. I don't think either of us are this old. There was a period between, like, the original series and the movies where all you had was Star Trek the Animated Series. Are you not aware of that? Not a good show.
After it was canceled in 1969, Star Trek still burned brightly in the hearts of fans, but now Star Trek is just burning. And most...
There have been Star Trek shows I don't like, therefore the entire franchise is retroactively ruined. No one tell this guy about Star Trek Enterprise. He might have an aneurysm.
No one cares anymore. In a case of almost certainly too little, too late, Emma Watts at Paramount is finally trying to fix things, and that's bad news for Kurtzman, who is, after all, the problem.
And again, I mentioned this earlier in the stream, I don't like Alex Kurtzman either. He's a hack. Alex Kurtzman is an absolute hack, and I don't like that he continues to get work. He's poster boy for failing upward in Hollywood. Nonetheless, that doesn't mean I'm gonna buy any rumor on 4chan just because I don't like the guy. Like, if he gets taken off of Star Trek at some point, great, I'll be happy about it, because I think there are better people to run it. I don't know who they are, but I know that he's not the best person to be in charge of it. Nonetheless, I'm not gonna believe stuff on 4chan just because I don't like the guy.
But what is really going on behind the scenes? What I'm about to share with you is information I cannot independently verify, so I must ask you to regard it as rumor and take it with several pinches of salt.
He always says this in every video, but nonetheless, he makes videos about it, and his fans treat it as fact. And then in videos after the fact, he'll be like, I reported on this earlier. Dude, stop falling for 4chan bait.
But that said, I have seldom heard so many rumors from different sources all converging like this, and the naked facts on the ground are so starkly obvious
A bunch of people on 4chan are trolling me, so it must be true.
that I must report, along with the normal reservations associated with any rumors, a high degree of confidence in the plausibility of these rumors. The simple, stark, and undeniable fact is Star Trek sucks. Under Kurtz...
Great. So, if you don't like Star Trek, stop watching it. That's fine. That's okay. You don't have to like it. If you just like TNG and TOS and Deep Space Nine, those still exist. They're on Netflix. Go enjoy. That's great. I'm happy for you. Why spend your entire channel bitching about a show you don't like? Seems like an utter waste of time, but hey, do you. This guy looks like, oh god, what does he look like? He looks like a Cyberman, but like, if it was put together by a drunk person who doesn't have a photograph to go off of, and they're like, make a Cyberman helmet, and they're like, oh god, and their memory's a little fuzzy. Daddy Sume, Janeway was best captain, fight me. I forgot about Voyager.
This flaming bag of poop left on the porch of fandom is wretched beyond belief. A horrid, abject failure of spectacular proportions that is stone-cold murdered this once proud franchise.
Again, I present to you Star Trek Enterprise.
This
Daddy Sume with a bit. Good, everyone should. It's awful.
is what happens when you put assholes with no love of a franchise.
I think Baja Blast really likes Voyager, because that's the one she watched growing up. I watched select episodes of Voyager. I really like some of the Voyager characters. I like the Doctor, but that's about it. Tom Paris is okay, I guess.
In charge of a franchise. You leave the franchise alone with the mercenary in question, then you come back to find your franchise in the bathtub, packed with ice and missing its kidneys, being sold on the black market for cash. Star Trek?
Imagine being this melodramatic about a show you don't like, or multiple shows you don't like, and comparing it to someone literally having their organs stolen from them, and then being like, oh, by the way, people on the left are snowflakes.
Is in the tub without its kidneys, and Alex Kurtzman is in a wet market overseas selling its organs. Now it's all over.
Daddy Sume with a bit. Can we talk about how uncomfortable Deep Space Nine made me with the religious overtones and focus on faith and stuff like that in hard sci-fi show? It really bugs me. I understand that, but I do find it interesting that you're in a situation in Deep Space Nine where the Federation, which is pretty irreligious, like, it wasn't until more recent shows where they've showcased certain Starfleet officers with religious beliefs, which I think is a little silly, but I mean, I get it. In the future, it's very unlikely that people are going to stop believing in their religions or their faith or whatever. Faith was a big theme of Discovery Season 2. Anyway, Deep Space Nine is interesting because it shows the very irreligious Federation having to deal with a very religious culture. And that's interesting. That's an interesting situation for them to be in. And seeing them have to, like, deal with the differing cultures and the culture clash, I kind of like that. I don't have to believe what the Bajorans believe to understand it's an interesting situation to see them interact with people who do not believe in the prophets the way they do.
Danny Bailey, and the harvest is in. These are the rumors I've heard, all of them, and this is fairly likely what is going on with the kidneyless, ice-packed body of the franchise, formerly known as Star Trek. Let's start with what we know for sure. On August 7th, Deadline...
Daddy Sume with a bit. Agree, but the conversion is Sisko was just uncomfortable. He was basically forced into being their messiah. True. That's true.
Published an article stating that Emma Watson...
In fairness, that's how a lot of messiahs and religions are. You don't necessarily get to opt in. You just are that.
Scott's top priority at Paramount was to figure out how to reboot Star Trek. That right there is absolutely an unequivocal public confession that Star Trek is in trouble.
What? They're talking about the movies. They're talking about Paramount, the movie maker. They're talking about the fact that, for one thing, the guy who played Chekhov unfortunately passed away in an accident. So they're not going to be able to redo him. They already did a trilogy with Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto as Spock. And it didn't do super well. So, like, what are you going to do? You reboot the franchise, and they're trying to figure out a way to do that. That has nothing to do with the TV shows.
After all, you don't worry about rebooting something that is successful. Emma Watts is the president of the Paramount Motion Picture Group, personally appointed by Shari Redstone, and partly responsible for fabulous films in the past, like Deadpool. So it is no laughing matter that Watts has acknowledged that
Giving this person credit for Deadpool is kind of funny when it took, like, Ryan Reynolds leaking the test footage to YouTube to get anyone to allow them to make the Deadpool movie. Like, no one wanted to make the Deadpool movie until they saw the fan response.
Star Trek is in need of a reboot and is actively looking to plug...
Dude, they're talking about the movie series. You get that, right? You understand that the movie series is different than the TV shows? We haven't had a movie that takes place in the TV show universe since... not Insurrection, the one that's after that. The one where there's a clone of Picard. I forget the name of that one for some reason. Anyway, it's been like 20 years since we've gotten a Star Trek movie that takes place in the same universe as the TV shows. So they're talking about the movies and how to reboot that.
The massive holes in the hull of
Nemesis,
the Star Trek brand. This article, an announcement, was a distress flare shot into the sky, as well as a shot across Kurtzman's franchise-destroying bow. An FU message.
Daddy Sume with a bit fair also, but my main discomfort comes at the end where he puts all his faith in the prophets and stuff like that. If they had avoided the faith and religious parts of it and focused on the wormhole aliens as other dimensional beings and not gods, I think that would have made it unequivocally the best Star Trek series. I mean, I guess. I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. What the Bajorans call the prophets are clearly interdimensional beings not bound by time, not dissimilar from the Q. And, like, they exist. What you choose to label them as is sort of whatever you want. You could argue Q from Star Trek The Next Generation, and he showed up in Deep Space Nine, like, once. Like, you could argue Q is a god, right? He has unlimited power. He fits basically every definition for what a god is. So, I don't know.
In a newly emptied bottle. The party's over, and it's time to sober up and fix Star Trek. Since Kurtzman is the problem with Star Trek, this...
if you're gonna say there's a problem with Star Trek, and I do think it's missing something that it had in the past that it doesn't have anymore. Part of it, I think, is, like, slowing down and just enjoying, like, I don't know, maybe it's because I grew up watching a lot of, like, Next Generation, but that, like, cozy feel, and the idea that, like, oh, we're just gonna take scenes where we just have characters interacting with each other at the bar, and there's not necessarily some high-stakes thing happening. It's just, like, exploring the characters and their interactions with one another. I wish there was more of that in modern Star Trek, but I don't think that's something that's entirely the fault of, oh gosh, now I'm forgetting the guy's name. The guy that he's bitching about, right?
There's nothing funny about
there are a lot of people working on the Star Trek shows. It's not only Alex Kurtzman's fault. Daddy Sume with a bit. Yes, but Sisko giving them control of his fate and letting their choices be his, giving them all his agency, just seems to be, I don't know, in controversion to Star Trek's thesis, or at least one of its main themes, that our intelligence and our ingenuity enables us to overcome anything. Sure, but that's a lot of Deep Space Nine. Like, Sisko always sort of went against what the traditional idea of what a Star Trek captain would do, right? Like, a lot of Star Trek captains, I would argue both Kirk and Picard are, like, how do I put this? They're not consequentialists. Consequentialist? Why am I having such a hard time saying this today? Either way, they look at their actions specifically like it's moral or it's not because of its morality in and of itself. I don't care about what it's going to cause. I believe that certain things are right because they're right. Whereas Sisko kind of looked at, like, do the ends justify the means, right? Deep Space Nine was always sort of a look at, like, the Federation, their belief systems, and if they hold up. Yeah, Sisko punched Q in the face. Exactly. I think that illustrates the difference between him and some other Star Trek captains. So I think it makes sense for the show, in the end, to sort of explore things differently than other shows might have. Rising Phoenix 13, thank you so much for continuing your subscription.
This announcement was a problem for Kurtzman. I have heard that during a video meeting, Kurtzman
I have heard. I read this on 4chan on the TV board.
He lost his shit when confronted with how badly Star Trek has done and pitched a temper tantrum. And I heard that this meeting may have been recorded. If anyone has this recording, gee whiz, I sure would love to see it.
It doesn't exist because this didn't happen. Because regardless of what you think of Alex Kurtzman, and I don't think he's very good at his job, nonetheless, he is a professional in the industry and has been for, like, decades. He's not gonna throw a temper tantrum inside CBS studios. Come on. Stop looking at 4chan rumors and believing them. My God.
Please consider sending it to me. An unhinged rant is a terrible thing to waste, and Doomcock would be eternally grateful for the laugh. The point of all this being, in this article, along with another article published in close proximity to it by Scott Mendelson in Forbes magazine, stating that Paramount failed to turn Star Trek into a blockbuster franchise, Star Trek is being set forth as a failing, if not failed, franchise, and
Dude, again, they're talking about the movies, which I agree, there's a lot of problems with the movies. The movies treat Star Trek like a big, action-y, Star Wars-y franchise. Look at the Mr. Plinkett reviews for explanations on that. I pretty much agree with, like, Mike in terms of, like, the reasons that the Star Trek reboot, like, the Kelvinverse stuff, doesn't quite work. It tries to turn Star Trek into something it's not, which is this big, action-y space battle franchise, and that's never been what the show is. So, I get that, and I agree, but that's a completely different discussion from what's going on with the CBS All Access stuff, right? Okay? Stop trying to conflate the two.
Kurtzman is nowhere mentioned as part of the solution. Ostensibly in his position of overseeing everything to do with Star Trek as per his contract, the fact that Watts is depicted as being in charge as opposed to Kurtzman speaks volumes. Typed in all caps with tons of expletives and
I don't know. That is a good question.
Colorful metaphors about just how much trouble Kurtzman is in for the handling of Star Trek. Essentially, Continuing my earlier metaphor, not only is Star
Doomcock's mind must be like that Always Sunny in Philadelphia conspiracy board meme.
Trek a corpse
Pepe Silva! Pepe Silva! Pepe Silva!
that is missing its kidneys, but with minimal merchandising, no international distribution, and Star Trek Lower Decks with a 35% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
I kind of like Star Trek Lower Decks. We've only gotten the first 6 episodes or so, and I only watched the first one so far, but I thought it was funny. I like it.
Star Trek's dead body has been sold to necrophiliacs, who in addition to the usual orifices, are using the kidney holes.
Looks up hyperbolic in the dictionary. Sees picture of man with milk jug on head.
In light of all these facts published in the mainstream media, here are the latest rumors published on 4chan. Netflix drops rights for Star Trek Discovery / Amazon refuses to fund Picard. A post by Anonymous. If you haven't...
Amazon? What? Amazon isn't paying for the CBS stuff. What are you talking about? CBS pays for all that stuff. CBS All Access is a channel that is hosted on Amazon, but Amazon has nothing to do with the funding of the shows. What are you talking about?
Seen any trailers for the Star Trek Discovery internationally, you're not alone. There's a worldwide blackout on marketing for the show outside of the US. There's a reason. Netflix has refused to renew their deal with CBS over Star Trek Discovery, as the viewership the show attracts is not worth the exorbitant fee that is being asked of them. This fee was so high in Season 1, it virtually paid for the production of the season by itself. This, to my knowledge, is absolutely true from a number of articles and sources previously. However, Season 2 of Star Trek Discovery was among the lowest rated high-budget shows on the platform.
Cosmic Sean 92, bro, chill, it's just a TV show movie. It's okay if it changes, right?
Additionally, while Netflix did eventually air the short Trek webisodes, once they were provided by CBS as a, quote, make good, unquote, these were watched by an abysmally small audience that numbered in the tens of thousands internationally. This is why they did not air the second season.
I find that to be suspect considering, and again, it makes no sense because we're like discussing a 4chan post like it's valid in any way, shape, or form. I spend time on the like Star Trek subreddits and they talk about the short treks when they came out. So do I. I like the short treks a lot. So the fact that this is claiming that only tens of thousands of people have seen them, when I've literally been on the Star Trek subreddit and discussed them with a lot of people who really, really like them, I find that pretty hard to believe.
Of short treks. Well, I can attest to that. In fact, CBS, in its desperation for some kind of publicity regarding this disaster, actually posted all these short treks on YouTube, which was a huge mistake because we can actually see just how abysmally they have performed.
Okay, these have 58,000, 35. This is already more than what you were saying.
I can tell you, as a YouTuber, I have had videos that have gotten more views in the first hour than a lot of these short treks have in total. It is that bad. That is abysmal when I, in an hour, can get more views than these short treks have in their lifetime on YouTube. CBS has been scrambling to work out new distribution plans for Star Trek Discovery internationally. The current plan is for it to air in some countries on their own all-access equivalents. For instance, in Australia on 10 all-access, or as it's known over there, 10 all-access. However, Netflix still has the rights to the first 2 seasons for another 6 months, so the show is unlikely to be broadcast until this expires and the entire show can be presented as one. The US and potentially Canada will be the only ones who get to see Star Trek Discovery Season 3 at its intended broadcast dates starting in October. Oh, lucky US and Canada.
I am excited to see Star Trek Discovery Season 3. Why do these people act like no one likes the show? It's fine if you don't like it. That's okay. I like it. Other people like it.
God, whatever did they do to deserve that?
Dr. Gamble, oh wow, people like fantasy and speculation more than reality? What are the odds?
The loss of Netflix funding is partially why Season 3 is the last season of Star Trek Discovery, and why the show has been canceled. In the same vein,
They said this last year too about Season 2, that it was going to be the last season because of lack of funding or lack of interest. Meanwhile, they're talking about all kinds of spin-offs. They just did Lower Decks. They're talking about doing Strange New Worlds and a spin-off with, like, Section 31. Like, there's a million Star Trek spin-offs happening.
Amazon has not yet renewed their contract to run Picard Season 2 on Prime Video. The lack of this source of funding is partially why the studio is in such chaos over the production of future Picard. I'm not reporting these 4chan rumors solely on the basis of being published on 4chan, which
Yes, you are. That's what you do with almost all your videos.
has in the past been tainted by planted disinformation.
Yeah, you've been trolled. You've been trolled multiple times. After this, we'll watch the video of someone explaining how they trolled him, because it's quite funny.
Designed to discredit and identify leakers. I'm mentioning them because in a lot of ways they echo things I have been told by other sources. Here is what one of my sources tells me about these particular rumors. Okay, a lot more credibility to this leak than you would think with the disinformation. I don't want to say it's all right, but Picard is in complete chaos apparently. I fully believe most of these, not all, but 1 through 5, and the last one, 100%. By the way, skeptical about the second to last two, however. I have a suspicion it's accurate. And regarding Picard, my source says, got it confirmed, Picard is in complete chaos. They can't insure Patrick, he is over it. As well, the contracts may actually end in November. Indeed, prior to this leak, I received word from a source that production on Star Trek Picard Season 2 got pushed back indefinitely.
Part of that's probably coronavirus, if that's even true. But I have no reason to believe that the sources that you get from 4chan are reliable, because you make shit up.
This was from a source directly involved in the production. There has also been some very weird and bad news regarding some shooting that either recently began or is slated to begin. Shooting going under the label STD Season 4. This could certainly be mislabeled.
That's not true. You know how I know this isn't true? Because the abbreviation for Star Trek Discovery internally at CBS is not STD. It's Disco. That's what they call it. They've talked about this before. My god. Maybe actually know what you're talking about before you cite sources that completely lie. We'll watch that in a minute.
Reshoots for the last few episodes of Discovery, or it could be something to do with some other series, or it could be disinformation. But it at least merits a mention in this report.
So it's just all you're saying is you read this on 4chan. If I want to read shit posts, I can go to 4chan myself. I don't need some Cyberman wannabe trying to read 4chan to me as if it's a valid source of information. Ugh.
Report. It may be a tricky way of trying to finagle money out of Netflix, essentially a desperation move to shoot Strange New Worlds, but label it officially as Star Trek Discovery Season 4, so that contractually Netflix might be forced to pay for it with the promise of merging the seasons.
That makes no sense and wouldn't happen. They're not gonna be like, do you know how quick that lawsuit would be if they said, oh, here's a new show with a new cast, but it's definitely Season 4 of this other show? Netflix would be like, nah, that's not happening. You can't just turn a different show into the show that we're supposed to pay for.
Sneaky way to meet certain legal requirements to milk Netflix out of more money as Netflix struggles to limp away from the bear trap that is Kurtzman's Star Trek. I have no idea regarding whether or not that is true, but I do know this. Star Trek...
You should just have that on screen at all times. This is all just 4chan posts, so it's probably BS. Just to cover yourself. I mean, you might as well be honest.
is a kidneyless corpse sold to necrophiles, taking its body down the
Dr. Gamble, X-Files theme intensifies.
river to meet a bunch of hillbillies who thinks it looks a lot like Ned Beatty and has a purty mouth. Down, 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 down. That's the new Star Trek theme, incidentally. Or at least, it should be. Oh, how far Star Trek has fallen. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry.
Ridiculous. Okay, so there's this video by this guy, Ketwalski, who, by the way, if you're looking for, like, a Star Trek YouTuber who doesn't buy into all this, like, you know, 4chan BS, really good Star Trek YouTuber, check him out. Check this video out in particular. The Fandom Menace Tricked Again. This is the second time he has gotten together with some people, planted false information on 4chan to see if they can bait Doomcock into making videos about it. And of course, he did. So, check out this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to trim out this part because I'm not just going to show this guy's video on YouTube. You know, just go check out his video. I'll link it in the description. But for those of us here at the Twitch stream, let's check it out, because it's pretty interesting.